prison in Alabama, and you find what there?
Well, I found something not so different from up here, which is human beings in great misery looking for solutions. But I had an incredible opportunity because Dr. Kavanaugh, I brought a tape recorder, of course, and Dr. Kavanaugh gave me his office and brought me prisoners to talk to.
This is the prison psychologist?
Yes, the prison psychologist. And I talked to these men at great length, tape recorded my sessions with them, asked them what life was like in prison, what they were searching for, what they wanted, what would help them feel better about where they were. And I was so moved by these interviews. Some of the men that you read their letters in the book or see them in the film, I met in 1999. Some of them I didn't. But I never looked back once after that first visit to Alabama.
The book we're talking about is Letters from the Dama Brothers by Jenny Phillips.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was so stirred by what I saw and heard that day. And I saw a movie soon after that called Doing Vipassana. It's about a prison in which the warden decides that everybody needs to sit in meditation. And she wants
Vipassana is a kind of meditation.
Yeah, it's an ancient practice based directly on the teachings of Buddha 2,600 years ago. It's an ancient, intensive. It's not relaxation. It's not religion. It's a set of skills and techniques for addressing your inner issues.
So it's not like transcendental meditation. How is it different from transcendental meditation?
I'm not that familiar with transcendental meditation, but Vipassana outlines a program in which you sit for 10 days for 10 hours a day.
Whoa.
And so it's really boot camp of meditation with a lot of training and a lot of support. There are teachers there with you. These courses go on all over the world. They are showing up in prisons in other parts of the world. In the United States, until Donaldson decided to try this program, it had never been done in a state prison in the United States before.
Wow. So the purpose of Vipassana meditation is to still the mind, to make you more conscious, to bring a greater sense of awareness. What?
Yes, that's all true. I guess I want to say that it's really to help you take a journey deeply inside of yourself and look at yourself. I don't know if you've ever heard the expression, the only way out is in. I hear it a lot in prisons because the prisoners understand they live in the most distracting and violent and sad environment, and they're looking for a way to get in. They often want to look at their crimes, they want to look at their pasts, and they don't have the skills and techniques. And frankly, I want to say that prison treatment programs often don't get you to that level. They're on a very surface level. And I think you really need to start with going deeply inside yourself to find out who you are at bottom, to look at things that you haven't thought about maybe since you were a child. And we don't offer the opportunity for prisoners to do that because they don't have a safe place and they don't have the skills to do it.
You know, you've said that several times, and it's very interesting because as I listen to you, I fully understand what you're saying, but I also listen as my listeners and viewers, and I know what they're thinking. They're thinking, so what if they're sad? So what if they're in an unsafe environment? So what if, they, don't have a chance to look deeply inside themselves? They've done harm to society, often done, terrible things, in for murder, in for life. So what the hell do we care if they're safe and feeling all good about themselves? Yeah. Why do we want that?
I don't think our society necessarily benefits from a whole subset of the population being absolutely miserable and out of control. But
you've used the word sad and you've used the word safe. Why should they be safe when they have done the ultimate in causing a great deal of the population to feel unsafe and to feel deep sadness and pain and grief and sorrow?
Yeah. Well, as I say, I don't know if we as a society gain from having people be miserable, but if we do, and I certainly don't know everything, maybe we should make prisoners be miserable. But our prisons are not safe. Corrections officers are suffering as much as the prisoners when they're in there because these environments are not feeling comfortable and safe. So I think prison staffs would be more comfortable if their population were receiving some kind of treatment. But also the streets are going to be safe because, again, 97% of these people are going to be out in the streets again. And if you're only going to make them more unhappy and isolate them and make them, have low self-esteem and depression while they're there, and anger, lots of anger. When they get back into the streets again, they're going to recommit. And the recidivism rates that we have in our society are way too high.
Yeah, I think that's really the most difficult to get people, the difficult thing to get people to understand, that if you continue to treat people like an animal because they have treated other people like animals, not even like animals, because animals don't kill for just because they can kill. Animals kill to either protect themselves or because they need food. We're the only animal that kills because we didn't like something that you did or because you took my stuff or whatever. As human beings, we do that. But what I think people need to understand is what you were saying earlier, and I'm talking to Jenny Phillips, author of Letters from the Dharma Brothers, that 97% of men who are in prison right now are one day going to be released. And if they are treated like animals, if they're given no respect, given no sense of dignity, given no sense of self-esteem or self-esteem building, to be able to feel like a human being, then they come back into the world and they commit more crimes that do the same thing. So it becomes a vicious cycle. So I hear what you're saying. Absolutely hear what you're saying. So when you went to this prison, why is it called Dhamma?
Dhamma is in the Buddha's language, which is called Pali, P-A-L-I. It meant the pathway to wisdom. It later became a Sanskrit word and became the word Dharma, which everybody knows the word D-H-A-R-M-A. Yeah. So these guys started calling themselves, because this was their pathway. They had taken this journey into themselves. They started calling themselves the Dhamma Brothers. Mm-hmm. That's where the title of the film comes from. Letters from the Dhamma Brothers.
So, when you first went into this prison, was Dr. Kavanaugh, was he meditating with these guys? Were they doing any form of meditation?
They were. There was a program called Houses of Healing, which is the one I was teaching up in Massachusetts. It's a book called Houses of Healing that's in prisons all over the United States, and part of it outlines a very simple form of 15, 20-minute meditation. And so Dr. Kavanaugh was setting up these groups, and the men were learning to meditate from this book.
Okay. And so when the idea of bringing this different form of vipassana, but the idea of bringing vipassana into the Donaldson Correction Center came from whom?
I guess it was my idea. I mentioned I saw the film, and I thought, this is what those guys were asking for in those interviews. They were asking me to take this journey inside. And this program would provide them with that journey. And I immediately contacted the Vipassana Center in Western Massachusetts in Shelburne Falls. And the teachers that you see in the film, Bruce and Jonathan, were at that center, and I struck up a conversation with them about, hey, there's this prison down in Alabama where the psychologist is interested in bringing the program down there. And wow. That started a conversation that lasted until 2002 when we actually made it happen. It involved many stages and levels of negotiations. For one thing, we had to figure out some way for, according to Vipassana rules, the teachers live among the students during these 10 days. So we had to figure out some way for the meditation teachers to come in and live with the prisoners. Well, that's never happened before, I don't think, in prison
that's
history in the United States. Yeah. There was a wonderful architectural solution to that, which was over the gym where the meditation center was constructed, a steep little stairway up to a little room with a little toilet and space to put down a sleeping bag. And every night the officer on duty would lock the teachers into that little room, and they would sit up there and they'd look down and they could see the prisoners down below to see what they were doing. But that architectural anomaly at Donaldson allowed this to take place.